Welcome, everyone. Now we can hear, right? Welcome. Glad to see we have a lot of attendance or wide attendance tonight. Welcome to our meeting. Before we get started, we have some housekeeping. So we'll get started. Welcome to everyone over Zoom as well. This is a virtual meeting, so we want to go over just a few logistical points as we get started. So to start, we will be, we need the PowerPoint on right now. Only because we're going to go over some housekeeping. There we go. So we have several folks here in person, but we're also transmitting this meeting over Zoom. So we want to make sure that everyone understands how we're using the technology. Para empezar, vamos a tener traducción en español. Si necesitan traducción aquí en el salón, pueden seleccionar el equipo al fondo del salón. So if you're participating over Zoom, there are some instructions as well. Para las personas que están participando en Zoom en español, van a necesitar que seleccionar un idioma. So for those of you participating over Zoom, you will also need to select the language that you will be participating in. And if you notice, we will be using the chat feature. At the bottom of your screen, there's a globe. So for all participants over Zoom, you will need to select a language. Para todos que van a participar sobre Zoom, van a seleccionar el idioma que está al pie de la pantalla. Es un globo. If you're participating by phone, there's also a feature you hit the symbols at the bottom. There's 3 dots, and you will need to select for more and then select your language. Si están participando sobre su celular, seleccionen los puntos al pie de la pantalla de su teléfono y seleccionen más y pueden seleccionar el globo que está en la pantalla. So again, you will select the globe to select the language that you will be participating in. And as you can see from the images too, we will be using the raise your hand feature. So that's also at the bottom of your screen. Si quieren participar para comunicar o hacer comentario, pueden seleccionar la manita que está al pie de la pantalla. So with that, those are the housekeeping introductions. So I want to kick us off by introducing our director of planning and development, Lisa Plowman, who will provide us with an introduction and welcome.
Thank you very much, Esmeralda. So I don't really want to sit behind the desk. I'd rather be up here with you, and our microphone over there is not working. So I'm going to hold this up. And I just, as Esmeralda said, I'm Lisa Plowman. I'm the Director of Planning and Development. And we're here tonight to talk to you about the housing element update. Every 8 years, every jurisdiction in the state of California is required to update their housing element. And this housing element is for 2023 to 2031. And so during that time frame, when we have to update our housing element, we have to look at the needs of our community. So looking at seniors, looking at low-income families, and then we also have to plan for the provision of housing for the future. So there's a lot of work that's already been done, and today the purpose of this workshop is to really walk you through the process and where we are today and what's to come. We have a lot of staff here, which is great. So I want to introduce them. We have Dan Clement, who's the Deputy Director of the Long Range Planning Division. We have Alan Bell, who's the Supervising Planner. We have Jesse Steele, who is one of the project managers. We have Selena Evil-Sizer, who's also a project manager. And then we have Brianna Alamia, who is one of the planners on the project. And then, of course, we have Esmeralda Garcia, who is working with MIG, which is the consultant that's helping us with our housing element, one of them. So with that, I would look to turn it back over to Esmeralda.
Great, thank you.
Good, thank you for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. So we're going to go back to our PowerPoint, and those over Zoom can also view the presentation at the same time here. So we do have a few things that we want to review with you in terms of our objectives for this evening. As Lisa said, there's a lot that's involved with updating the housing element. And so there's information that we'd like to share with you to get you up to date about this. And then also to get feedback on some zoning strategies that will be presented this evening. And most importantly is to provide everyone an opportunity to participate in this process. For our agenda this evening, we have quite a few things. So first, we'll give you an update on the process, what's happened to date, the analysis that's been undertaken, as well as an overview of what a housing element is. There's a lot that goes into it, so just a brief overview to provide background and context for you. And then there was some community engagement or survey that was conducted, so the results of that will be shared at least the key themes or findings that emerged from that. Then we'll get into the zoning strategy. So we're going to be looking at some maps that identify different tools, and then also an introduction for an online tool that you can interact with after the meeting as well. After each of these sections, we'll have an opportunity for questions and answers, both here in person and for those of you over Zoom. We are also monitoring that, so it'll be hybrid and interactive both on the digital platform and in person. And then following the rezone presentation, we will have a facilitated discussion around that. So just want to go over maybe some of the features that we'll be using and how we'll gather input for this evening's meeting. For those of you who are meeting with us here in person at the sign-in table, you will have an agenda, so that outlines what I just reviewed. Then there's also a sheet that has some prompts that are organized around the topics that we'll be presenting this evening. There's pens at the table. Please feel free to jot down notes, write down ideas. If you'd like to make a comment verbally, we will be calling on you here in the room. At the same time, we will be monitoring the Zoom platform and calling on people who raise their hands. So if you want to make a comment over Zoom, verbally, our team, we have MIG co-facilitators both here on site and over Zoom. We'll be monitoring that. You'll raise your hand and we'll call on you. We'll go kind of back and forth and listen to folks here and over Zoom. Those of you present in the room here will be able to listen to the comments over Zoom, and then those of you providing your comments here in real time on site will be transmitting your comments over Zoom as well. And then again, just want to make the announcement for maybe folks who popped on Zoom after the fact or after the announcement. You will need to select for the globe at the bottom of your screen to select a language, regardless of the language that you're participating in, so that you're able to hear the full discussion. And so with that, let's see, we have a final slide before we get started with our overview. Just some discussion points, or want to review maybe some protocols for how we will be managing the discussion. We want to make sure we allow time for all questions, so we'll have, again, a brief Q&A period after each agenda item. And then we'll have one at the end, too, the facilitated discussion. And then we want to be mindful of time. We don't have a time limit. We want to be, provide an open process for folks to provide their comments and questions, but we want to make sure that we're respectful of everyone's time. We do have, a couple of hours here to spend with you. We want to make sure that we're complete with sharing information and listening to everyone, but want to make sure that we're respectful of that. And then again, you can submit your comments over Zoom, or if you're participating that way, or on the sheet of paper that has been provided to you this evening. Once we get into the presentation, you will also be provided with information for other places that you can provide your comments on the internet. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Selena, who will provide us with a brief overview and background. I'm sorry, Jesse who's going next, who will provide an overview and background on the housing element update.
All right. Thanks, Esmeralda. So hello, everyone. My name is Jessie Steele, and as Lisa mentioned, I'm one of the project managers for the Housing Element Update. Before we begin, I just wanted to set the stage a bit for the area that we're talking about that is going to be covered by the Housing Element Update. So this is the county's jurisdiction. Everything that is shown in orange on this map is the unincorporated area of the county. And that is what's covered by the housing element. It's essentially everything that is outside of an incorporated city, Vandenberg Space Force Base, and the Los Padres National Forest. All right. And then, so what is a housing element? That's the next quick question. As Lisa mentioned, it is essentially a housing plan that has to be updated every 8 years. This is a state mandate for all cities and counties in California. And the housing element must plan for everyone in the community, including seniors, families, and workers. It also needs to allow for all types of housing to be built, including houses, apartments, and farm labor housing, for example. It must specify exactly where new housing can be constructed or allowed. And there's a lot of components to it. The housing element is one of just 13 elements of our comprehensive plan for the County of Santa Barbara. And as I just mentioned, the housing element must identify and analyze housing needs of the unincorporated county and accommodate those housing needs for all income levels. The California Department of Housing and Community Development, or State HCD, determines the number of housing units that the county must accommodate in order to satisfy its fair share of regional housing needs. This is called the Regional Housing Needs Allocation, or RHNA for short, and I'll go into a bit more detail about that later. The housing element must include a set of goals, policies, and programs to provide housing for all segments of the community and remove barriers to housing development. Robust public engagement is also required, which is why we're having this workshop with you here tonight. And lastly, the county must adopt an update to its housing element and submit it to State HCD for certification. So this slide here shows the three-step RHNA development and housing element update process, which occurs every 8-year planning cycle. First, State HCD determines the housing needs for all of California. Then State HCD provides the total RHNA for our region to our Council of Governments, which in our case is the Santa Barbara County Association of Governments, or SBCAG. SBCAG works with the county and cities to equitably distribute the RHNA across every jurisdiction. SBCAG adopted our current RHNA plan in July of 2021, and since then, the county and cities have been working to update their respective housing elements to accommodate their RHNAs. The county's housing element update, which again addresses only the unincorporated areas of the county, must identify potential housing opportunity sites and, as necessary, rezone sites, and consider new policies and programs to facilitate additional housing. So SBCAG's final RHNA plan took a bit of a different approach this time than in previous RHNA plans, in that it set housing unit targets for the unincorporated North County and South Coast areas, as shown on this map here. The reason for allocating the RHNA in this way is twofold. First, it's intended to comply with SBCAG's Regional Transportation Plan and Sustainable Community Strategy, which, in short, aims to reduce vehicle miles traveled and greenhouse gas emissions countywide. And second, it's meant to address the jobs housing imbalance that exists between the North County and the South Coast. So these may be a little bit hard to see, but these tables here show the county's RHNA for the North County and the South Coast areas. The RHNA is distributed across 4 household income categories. We have very low and low income, moderate income, and above moderate income. The income distribution is set by the state's affordability calculations and is based on the median household income for a family of 4 in Santa Barbara County. It's important to note that the RHNA numbers shown here represent the bare minimum that the county must accommodate in its housing element update in order to comply with state law and SBCAG's RHNA plan. So, to determine whether the county has sufficient capacity to meet its RHNA under existing zoning, staff created an inventory of all land available for residential development within the unincorporated county. The results of this site's inventory show that the county has capacity to meet its North County RHNA in some categories, but not others, which is shown in this table. The North County RHNA in the first row is based on current zoning, but it includes a 15% buffer for the very low, low, and moderate income categories. This buffer is necessary because some housing projects may not develop at maximum or projected densities, and there are penalties from the state for not having enough sites to be in a RHNA. The current capacity shown in the second row is based on existing zoning, and it includes projected accessory dwelling unit or ADU development, and it also includes pending housing projects. And as you can see from the bottom colored row, the county has a surplus of sites needed to accommodate its moderate and above moderate income RHNA, which are shown in green, but we have a shortfall of 503 lower income units, which are shown in red. This shortfall can be made up through rezoning sites to higher residential densities, which the county will do as part of the housing element update. And then we have this slide here, which shows some of the state mandated timeframes with which the county must comply. First, when the draft housing element is ready, the county must make the draft available for public comment for 30 days. Then the county must submit the draft to state HCD for review. And state HCD has up to 90 days to complete their first round of review. After that, the county needs to adopt the housing element and submit the adopted housing element back to state HCD. The county must then work with state HCD during the certification process to revise the housing element as needed. And state HCD may take up to 60 days to perform the first round of review for certification. And the county and state HCD will likely go to 2 or 3 rounds of review in this manner for certification. The state's deadline for the county to adopt its housing element update is February 15th of 2023. However, due to the amount of work involved with developing the site's inventory and potential rezones, the county will not meet this deadline. As a result, on February 15th of 2023, the county will be subject to a state law that requires the county to permit multifamily residential developments by right, meaning ministerially, if they include at least 20% lower income units. And lastly, the county has until February 15th of 2024 to fully implement and adopt the rezones that are identified in the housing element. So again, this one might be a little bit hard to see from crowd, but this is a timeline showing our past, current, and upcoming work on the housing element update. Staff began creating the site's inventory this past February and just finished the draft inventory this month. In March of this year, the county made targeted presentations and project updates to groups such as the Cities, Counties Affordable Housing Task Group, the Elected Leaders Forum on Homelessness, and the Adult and Aging Network, for example. Staff also contacted all property owners regarding potential rezones of their properties, and staff is going to continue public outreach until next summer when the housing element is adopted. The county began adopting the housing element itself in October and plans to continue writing the chapters and appendices through summer of 2023, through winter or early 2023. And the county also kicked off environmental review this past summer in July, and we held a scoping meeting for the Programmatic Environmental Impact Report, or PEIR, back in August. And the county will continue working with our consultants to draft the EIR until winter 2023. And finally, the county expects to adopt the housing element update and the EIR in summer of 2023. So with that, does anyone have any questions on our housing element overview? Yes. Oh.
Were homeowners notified of this new development that you showed during the summer of this year?
So you're asking how we notified property owners of the development that we did in the summer? Do you mean of the work that we were doing on the site's inventory?
If you go back to the previous chart, you showed a timeline, and when you were breaking down the timeline, you showed a section where when you informed the property owners. I'm just curious to know how were we notified?
We notified all property owners who will potentially have a rezone of their property. We contacted them, asked them if they would be interested in a rezone, and asked them about various constraints that they had on their property. So we notified only those property owners that would be directly affected by the rezone in that manner. But we will be doing more noticing to the public about the rezones as we progress further. Earlier this summer, we were only trying to develop a list of potential rezone sites, but from here on out, now that we have developed a list, we'll be doing more public outreach on it, starting with these workshops, and then moving forward, we will be doing more noticing to other property owners nearby.
Any other questions here? And then also want to let folks know over Zoom that you can raise your hand there too.
I have what is probably a really fundamental question, but at the outset you mentioned the sort of considering all land available for development or redevelopment, and what does that encompass? What land is considered, and is there any land like ag land, prime ag, or is there land that doesn't come within consideration?
So that's a good question. She asks what is included in all lands available for residential development that we considered as part of our sites inventory. And I'm going to defer a little bit to our sites inventory guru, Eva, so she can fill in what I miss. But essentially, we started out by taking an inventory of all the parcels that are located within the unincorporated area of the county. And from there, we tried to narrow things down based on some selection criteria. Specifically, we know that state HCD likes to see parcels that are, first of all, vacant. Second, that are within the range of half an acre to less than 10 acres. And they like to see sites that are near, in proximity to amenities, transit, jobs, that have availability for water, sewer, and other utilities. There were a variety of factors that we considered. So we did include sites that are currently zoned for residential, as well as some sites that are currently zoned for commercial or agricultural uses, just depending on the area of the county that we were in. And maybe if Eva can pitch in anything to that, she's on Zoom today.
Yes, hi. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Jesse, I think you did a great summary of the way in which we categorized parcels and identified parcels that were appropriate for considering to meet our RHNA. So our inventory, for the most part, includes vacant sites identified that are residentially zoned, or sites that are in zoning designations that allow residential development, such as commercial, like Jesse said. And then our rezones are sites that are not currently designated for residential use or are designated for low density, where we're proposing higher density residential. And for those sites, we considered a whole number of factors, including environmental constraints, proximity to resources, topography, floodway hazards, etc.
Thank you, Eva. One other thing I'd like to mention that's also important is we tried to narrow our focus for all the sites in our sites inventory, but especially our rezone sites, to sites that are located within the county's existing urban area. If at all possible, we were trying to avoid going into the rural region and converting those lands and thereby expanding the urban area. But I don't want to go too much more into this right now, just because my colleague Selena is going to be talking more about the rezones specifically, and I'm sure you guys may have more questions after that portion of the presentation.
So there's just a few questions over Zoom, and just want to maybe call those out, and then we can move on to the next section about rezones. So one of them was, can you repeat what you stated about the county not meeting the state housing deadline for housing element updates, and what can be permitted as use by right?
Yes. So the state sets a statutory deadline for all jurisdictions in California by which they must adopt the housing element update. And in our case, we are not going to be able to meet that deadline, which is February 15th of next year, 2023. And as a result of that, and again, this is due to the extensive work that we've done so far with our sites inventory and other work on the housing element update, set us behind a bit. We are going to be subject to a state housing element law that provides that residential developments that include at least 20% of the housing units for lower income sites must be processed ministerially, which means that they have to have objective, they only have objective standards that apply to them. There's no discretionary review. And that's going to be for sites that are included within our housing element update. Those sites have that provision applied to them.
And there's a few other comments related to the rezones, but we'll maybe get to that part and then take questions then. There are two hands raised over Zoom, and we want to call on those individuals. So in order, Ferial Sadagian, and I apologize if I'm mispronounce your name, and then Thomas Nelson. So Ferial first, and then Thomas.
Hi, do you hear me? Hello?
Yes, I hear you. I don't know if anybody else
Just
does.
want to make sure. Okay. Hi, I'm Ferial Sadigan, landowner in New Kuyama. I did get an outreach from.
So Ferial, we cannot hear you, so I think you may need to select your language. At the bottom of your screen, you have
I
a
just
look.
did. Yes. Hello?
We can hear you.
Yes. I'm a landowner in New Kuyama. Our zone is a CH. We're a hotel property. The county did get in contact with us, two of the planners, and we had the discussion, and we're not interested in the rezone. And we went through all the reasonings of why we're not. However, our property has showed up in this map as a potential for rezone. How does this work?
So the county is considering at this time a wider variety, a larger number of potential rezone sites than we actually need to accommodate our arena. And this is for a couple of reasons. First is because we, again, have that arena buffer because there are state penalties for not accommodating our arena. But beyond that, we want to give our decision makers, our planning commission and board of supervisors, options for as to which sites they would like to include within the housing element and which they would not. So there were many sites that were selected, but ultimately not all of these will be included in our final adopted housing element.
But who gets the say on that, the landowner or the county?
Ultimately, the board of supervisors will have the say on that, but the public does have opportunities to comment in forums such as this and at the public hearings. Are you speaking about the Buckhorn property in Kuyama?
We'll come back and maybe ask the follow-up question under the rezone section of the agenda. Next, we're going to go to Thomas Nelson.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I live in Los Olios, and we're in the process of developing or designing our wastewater treatment. And I and many people in the community are concerned and question how the size of that system and its capacity is treated as far as the housing element for the building or the acquisition for rezoning. The idea being that, generally speaking, engineers try to build them for bigger than what you need, with the intent that eventually you'll grow into it. Others in the community would just as soon keep it. We want a small community, and we're not really interested in spreading out. We'd like to be a small town, just like we are. And I'm curious as to how that gets impacted and what the community would have to say if rezoning came in and changed us from what we are to an expanding city.
So just so I understand the question, are you asking about how water availability plays a role in the housing element update or wastewater capability?
It'd be our wastewater treatment. We have the waters there. We're most everybody there now is on septic. We have to design a new system, and there's the options are, generally speaking, a gravity system that's like every city has, or most cities have, a big sewer system, or there are other smaller, more packaged, limited systems that treat and deal with the people who are there, and has some expansion, but it isn't a free-for-all.
I see. So the county must analyze for all sites that are included within its sites inventory whether or not water and wastewater services are available. But in the particular case of Los Olivos, we have not identified any sites inventory sites in that area.
Okay, well, that helps.
Do you have any other questions on at least our housing element overview? Yes.
My understanding is that this is, my understanding is that this new housing element is going to be pushed forward. I know that the governor spent millions of dollars pouring into rural areas. Will any of the money go to like new policing these new communities that are coming up? Will that expand our police department?
So I think the question was with the money that the state is putting into housing, will we see any of that in county services such as policing? And to clarify, it is a bit of a complicated question, but the housing element update is essentially a housing plan that shows where new housing can be accommodated and in what type and what affordability level within the county. We, as part of the housing element update, are not going to get into specifics about how services such as policing will provide. But the EIR that we do, the environmental impact report, will go into that in some detail. Does that answer your question a bit? Okay.
Once the housing element is submitted in summer of next year, if that's the deadline, if for new sites identified, can they squeeze in after it's submitted, or do they wait the 8 years for another proposed site to be either rezoned or be identified as a site for development?
That's a good question. So once the housing element is adopted, we do have to send that adopted housing element to state HCD for their final blessing for certification. And at that point, the county is going to be doing multiple rounds of review. We're going to be doing a bit of a dance where we send the housing element to them, they review it, provide comments to us, we revise the housing element as needed and send it back. And so I suppose there is a chance, an opportunity for the county to include new sites after the housing element has been adopted if state HCD requires us to go back, analyze sites that we have available and identify new ones. But generally speaking, our goal is to identify all of the sites that we need before the housing element is adopted in summer of 2023. But also I should importantly mention, thank you, Lisa, if anyone has suggestions for sites, whether their own or a site that they know of that would be great for housing, we are absolutely accepting public comments on that. We are all ears. If there's something that we haven't thought of, or you see something that you think could work a little bit better that's on our map, we'd like to hear that.
I'm interested in knowing if the water use considerations are being made. Cursory review of the internet shows that the average California home uses 360 gallons a day. And I understood that these plans were considering 5,000 new homes, which would equate to, in my math, 1.8 million gallons a day. And I'm already being told that I have to reduce my water use and let my lawn die. So what kind of considerations are being made regarding our lack of water?
This has been a very popular question as we've been working through the housing element update, and understandably so, water usage is a big deal here in California. So we absolutely do take water availability into account as part of reviewing and analyzing the sites that are going to the sites inventory. This is also something that we're analyzing in our environmental impact report. And at the end of the day, what state HCD wants to see is that the sites that we have included in the housing element have some sort of access to water or potential access to water. For example, we understand that in Goleta, which is South Coast, but in Goleta, their water district has a moratorium. And we understand that completely, but the state still requires us to identify sites that could potentially have access to water at some point in the future. So that's part of the effort that we've undertaken.
We have a question from Anna Marie Gott over Zoom.
Thank you for calling on me. First of all, I did actually send an email regarding parcels of property off of Santa Barbara Avenue in Los Olivos that total about 4.5 acres as a place for higher density and rezoning. It's currently zoned for 1E1. And I think you could probably get, eight units of housing per 1.5 acre lot. But I did have another question, and that really concerns the commercial core of Los Olivos. I noticed that you've highlighted the commercial core. I'm wondering what the housing overlay is for that area in terms of density, or do you not allow housing in the C2 areas?
So for Los Olivos on our map, I think some of the confusion may stem from how we color coded some of our layers in the map, and Selena's going to go over this in more detail later. But I'll go ahead and say this now. In our map, we made a layer of yellow parcels, and what that yellow layer shows is all sites that we looked at for potentially including within our housing element update and potentially rezoning. However, the ones that are highlighted in yellow are ones we simply looked at, analyzed, and decided we were not going to rezone. So if there are any in Los Olivos that show up in yellow, we just looked at them. We're not proposing to rezone them.
Okay, so you're not increasing any density for housing in that area. That's what I needed.
Not at this time, no.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So we will go into our next agenda topic, so I'm going to turn it over to Brianna. Thank you, Jesse.
Okay. Thank you, Jesse. My name is Brianna. I'm also a planner with the County of Santa Barbara, and I'm going to be talking to you guys today about our community survey we did this spring and the results we received from them. Before I get into that, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what we've done so far. As Jesse mentioned, county staff has reviewed all housing opportunity sites to assess for potential future housing development. Staff worked to identify the current capacity permitted in each site and where sites had room for growth. Throughout the process of analysis and research, staff was simultaneously conducting public outreach. Staff, with the help of the nonprofit, the Promotores, conducted a housing conditions and needs survey to learn more about housing issues from community members' experiences. I will go into more detail about this on the following slides. Staff also created and released an informational video describing the housing element process in both English and Spanish, which you can find on our website. Staff has sent various notifications via email, social media, and press releases to inform the community on any updates and events being hosted. Staff has also conducted various targeted meetings to learn more about housing needs from specific community groups. To further discuss community members' input on housing needs in the county, I will now discuss the community survey we conducted. This spring, the county collaborated with the Promotores Network to conduct a housing conditions and needs survey. The Promotores Network works to engage the underserved Spanish-speaking communities to improve community awareness about health and social service issues that affect them. The Promotores members canvass door-to-door in Spanish-speaking communities throughout the county to inform them on the survey and encourage them to provide feedback on their housing issues. The survey was available online and distributed as paper copies in English and Spanish. The responses from the survey were used to help the county better understand the housing needs of its residents and the pressures that its residents experience. The following information summarizes these results from the 538 surveys completed in English and Spanish. The survey helps county staff gain a better understanding of current housing conditions and experiences community members have. The results showed that the county is almost evenly split amongst homeowners and renters. 2% of respondents had other living conditions, such as temporary housing or homelessness. In regards to the types of homes people within the county are living in, the most common reported from the survey takers are single-family homes or condominiums. The second most common type of homes are multifamily buildings, such as apartments, duplexes, or townhomes. The third most common was mobile homes. People also reported living in accessory dwelling units, group housing, RVs, retirement homes, hotels, or experiencing homelessness. People were asked how many rooms were in their home except for kitchens, bathrooms, and uninhabited garages. Most people reported having 2 bedrooms. The second most common home had 3 bedrooms, and the third most common had 1 bedroom. The majority of county residents reported sharing a home with a partner or spouse. People reported their children as the second and third most common people they share a home with. Other county residents also reported sharing their home with non-relatives. To gain a better understanding of the typical living arrangements within the county, the survey asked people how many others they share a home with. The majority of respondents stated that they live with 1 other person. The second most common home arrangement consists of more than 4 people living together. People living in a home alone was the least common arrangement reported. At the time of the survey, Santa Barbara County's average median income for a family of 4 was $90,100. We wanted to gain a sense of how community members were reporting their incomes in relation to this average. 54% of respondents' households have an average annual income less than $90,100. 41% of respondents' households have an average annual income of $90,100 or more per year, while 5% declined to state their response. As Jesse mentioned, ensuring there is enough housing available in regards to all income levels is important for the county to arrange. Through the survey, we were able to gain a sense of what people pay monthly for their rent or mortgage payment. Of those who responded, the majority of people stated that they paid between $1,000 to $1,499 per month on their rent or mortgage. The second most common monthly rent payment was less than $1,000 per month. The third most common rent payments tied between the range of $1,500 to $1,999 per month, with the rent payment of $3,000 or more per month. Various others reported that their homes are paid off. For North County specifically, monthly rent prices were a little different. The majority of survey takers in the North County reported that they pay less than $1,000 per month. The second most common rent payment is between $1,001 to $2,000. The least common monthly rent payment is above $2,000 per month. In addition to learning about people's average rent payments, we were able to learn about the conditions of people's homes and the issues they have with them. The majority of people stated that their homes are in good condition or need some repairs. The least amount of people reported needing serious repairs to their homes. The most common home hazards reported by people are shown here. The most common home hazard reported was poor plumbing or heating. The second most common hazard reported was excessive dust, followed by excessive noise and mold or mildew. People also reported experiencing exposure to excessive heat, exposure to pesticides, and exposure to air pollution. Based on the living arrangements and housing conditions residents currently experience, we wanted to see if residents had a desire to move elsewhere within the county within the next 5 years. The results showed that the majority of people would prefer to remain in their current home, while some do have a desire to move elsewhere. We wanted to learn more about the reasons behind people's desire to move within the next 5 years. The majority of people shared that the main reason they wish to move was because current housing costs are too high. People also felt their current housing is too small or too large for their needs. People also expressed desires to purchase a home instead of renting and to live closer to their place of work or school. The survey helped us gain a better understanding of what types of homes people are looking for. Most people share that they would prefer a single-family home or condominium. Various others share that a multi-family home, accessory dwelling unit, or mobile home is their preference. In addition to the types of homes people preferred, people shared their preferences of owning or renting their next home. Most people shared that they prefer to buy their next home, with the minority preferring to rent. For people who expressed that they'd like to buy a home but felt they could not do so, we wanted to hear more about the reasons why. The main sentiment people shared as roadblocks to home purchasing was housing costs being too high. People also shared that they could not afford down payments, mortgages, or other costs. People were encouraged to leave any additional comments they had in regards to housing within the county. Many comments were left regarding several topics related to accessory dwelling units, affordable housing, housing costs, the need for more housing, agricultural housing, rentals, and homelessness. All comments are being reviewed by staff and are being taken into consideration as further work on the housing element develops. That concludes our section on the community survey. Any questions?
So again, we'll take questions on the information that Brianna just presented, and then the next topic is the rezones. So questions from anyone here in the room or over Zoom? Yes, go ahead.
Good evening. I work with Good Samaritan and the homeless population, and I was wondering if in the work that the promotorists did, was there any specific work with outreach teams that are working in encampments located throughout the county?
That is a good question. We have, not the promontory specifically, but the county has done focused listening sessions with a homeless group in Santa Barbara, and we are going to be doing more in the future as well in this winter. But the promontory specifically is targeted Spanish-speaking communities within the county.
So the percentage was very low, and so the work that we're doing, I can tell you the unincorporated areas has great need and much more than like 2%. You know, so I would just definitely encourage that work to continue. I think what happens often is the homeless seek services which are located in the cities, but there are large encampment issues throughout the county, and I think it's really also the cities and the county's responsibility to build this affordable housing into the plan for people experiencing homelessness.
So over Zoom, we have Maria Guadalupe with
I just wanted to add something. We are working with our community services department, who has a housing section, and they're very involved in building housing for the homeless. And so we're doing a lot of coordination with them, and they're undergoing a significant effort to construct more transitional housing for homeless.
Great, thank you, Lisa. So over Zoom, we have Maria Guadalupe.
Sí, buenas tardes. Mi pregunta es esta. Las personas de bajos recursos y personas mayores, ¿sí tendrán acceso a esas viviendas que se piensan construir?
Would you like me to translate?
Yes.
Is she going to be...
Well, she's in the English, Spanish.
So
Español.
I'm going to go back to my computer.
You can hear.
I'm going to click on this microphone.
María Guadalupe, un momento, por favor.
Gracias.
Get instructor to speak. Pause. Pause. And I will do the interpretation consecutively in this microphone.
Ok, bueno, María Guadalupe, vamos a interpretar, sí, por favor, desde su comentario, pero con breve pausas para que podamos interpretar en inglés, por favor.
Sí. Mi pregunta es si las personas mayores y las personas con bajos ingresos pueden tener acceso a las viviendas que se van a construir.
My question is whether the elderly and people with income will be able to have access to the dwellings or the housing that is going to be constructed.
Okay, there we go. Yes, so part of our housing element, we do need to construct housing for every single, that's very equity.
Sí, Parte del proceso de construir es construir para personas de bajos ingresos. ¿Algo más? I don't hear anything, so I assume that we can get the answer.
Thank you. Gracias.
Gracias, señora.
So any other questions regarding the survey results or the findings that were presented by Brianna? Thank you, Brianna. So next we'll have Selena, who will present the information on the rezones.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again for joining us and for being patient. I know you are all very anxious to see the maps, as we have been too, and trying to get them together over the past year. So again, my name is Selena. I'm a senior planner with the county's long-range planning division. I will be talking about and presenting some maps that are showing potential rezones that the county will need to meet the state's housing goals requirements. First, I'll take just a minute to provide a couple definitions. I know we've been using some terms like rezone, upzone. I'll define those and then briefly explain the general method that the county staff used to identify sites that may be rezoned to meet the state's regional housing needs requirements, or meet the county's regional housing needs requirements that the state has given us. I'll then present the housing element update interactive map, which is live, and I'll show you how to get there, and I'll show you how to use it, and but then we will actually talk about the potential rezone sites in the North County communities. So first, just a few definitions. When we say rezone, we mean a change in the legal use of property from one category of uses, allowed uses, to another category, allowed uses. For example, a site may be zoned right now to only allow commercial uses like offices or shopping, but the site could be rezoned to also allow housing. I'll also be talking about upzoning. And by that, I'll mean that the rezoning or the zoning restrictions on the site would be changed to allow more intensive use. So, for example, a site that currently allows some residential uses could be upzoned to allow more types of residential uses. And I'll also talk a little bit about housing density. And by that, I mean the number of housing units that are allowed on a site, or the number of housing units per acre. And a housing unit is like one dwelling, so one house, or one apartment, or one condo, or one accessory dwelling unit. Here are some examples of different types of housing that I'll be talking about, and the different housing densities that typically go along with the different types of housing. So typically, detached houses like what you see on the left are at a density of less than 6 housing units per acre. Low density multifamily buildings like duplexes, triplexes, and courtyard apartments are usually between 8 to 25 dwelling units per acre. Higher density multifamily buildings like townhomes or a courtyard building, apartment buildings, 2 or 3 or 4 stories, are typically between 20 to 50 dwelling units per acre. Just depends on the site and the type of structure that's actually being proposed. One thing to note when we talk about rezones in the context of the housing element is that in order to meet the state's requirements for affordable housing, all of the sites that do end up being rezoned or upzoned in the context of the housing element must allow at least 20 housing units per acre. And this is from a state requirement because 20 units per acre
generally allows for what are called missing middle housing types, like duplexes, triplexes, courtyard apartments. So multifamily housing, but more like lower density or medium density residential or multifamily housing. So just to give you a really good explanation of the Regional Housing Needs Assessment or RHNA process, but I wanted to iterate just a couple of points that drove the rezone analysis. As she mentioned, the county's rezone or total RHNA was broken into the North County region and the South Coast region, and tonight we're just focusing on the North County region. The county needs to accommodate over 1,500 new housing units in the unincorporated North County areas, so outside of the incorporated cities, to meet our required RHNA. Approximately 1,000 of the new homes in the North County must be affordable to households in the lower and moderate income categories. County staff's assessment of all of the currently available land in the North County subregion found that there is not enough land suitably zoned right now to meet the requirements for lower income households. We have a shortfall of approximately 500 new housing units affordable to lower income households. And those were the shortfall tables that Jesse was showing you. So to find North County sites that can accommodate new housing units to meet our RHNA requirements, as Jesse mentioned, county staff looked at hundreds of sites to do an existing inventory. We started with sites that are currently vacant and also looked at some that are partially developed or underutilized, as the state calls it. We also focus on sites that are within or directly next to existing urban areas and are close to jobs and services. We also tried to focus on sites that could obtain water and wastewater services. So in the North County region overall, currently the map that I'll show you displays 21 sites in total that are potential sites that could be rezoned or upzoned. The map shows 11 sites in Orchid and around Santa Maria, 2 in Mission Hills, 1 in Vandenberg Village, 1 in Santa Ynez, and 6 in Nucleana. However, I know as has been mentioned previously, not all of the sites that are shown on the map will ultimately end up being rezoned and or upzoned as proposed. And the reason for that is because we wanted to try to give options where we can. I know there's not very much vacant land that is zoned for residential uses currently in the county. So we're trying to make, pull in all the resources that we have and try to figure out what's the best course of action and be able to provide options for discussion and deliberation. The county planning department prepared an interactive map. It shows areas of the county that are under consideration for rezoning as part of the county's housing element update. You can go onto the map to see different areas of the county where sites may be rezoned. You can type in your address, scroll around. The interactive map also shows pending housing projects that the planning department knows of, meaning housing projects that have been proposed by a landowner, but they haven't yet been constructed. And the reason for that is because if a housing project is in process but it's not actually built, then we can count those housing units toward our RHNA. The map also shows all of the sites that county staff has examined, as Jesse mentioned, and I'll show you. And that's just for your informational purposes. And there's other map information. You can turn on and off the layers and play around with it. You can access the map by visiting the County Housing Element webpage, but for those of you attending on Zoom, we'll place a link to the map in the chat. For everyone else here, we'll show you how the map works, and we have information we can provide you on how to get to the map when you get home, or you can access it on your phone, type in the link there. And we'll show maps specific to the communities in North County where there are potential rezone sites. This is an example of what you'll see when you open the map. This is New Cuyama. The black lines are legal parcels. The green sites are the proposed rezones. The purple sites are proposed housing projects. And the yellow sites are parcels that we examined to see if they should be potential rezone sites. This is an example of a potential rezone site in New Cuyama, so I zoomed in so you could get a better picture. When you click on the site within the map, a details box will pop up. And that details box will show you current information on the site, like how large is it, what's the existing zoning, and it'll also show you if it's a potential rezone, what the new zone might be, how many housing units could be accommodated if that site was rezoned. This vacant site in particular is in between the fire station and the high school. It's currently zoned for agricultural uses, but it could be rezoned to allow some single-family and multifamily residential housing types. In addition to that site I just showed in New Cuyama, these 5 parcels are also potential rezone sites. These parcels are along Highway 166, and they are all zoned for commercial uses that serve the highway. The map shows potentially changing the zoning to a designation called C2, which is still a commercial zone and still allows commercial uses, but it's a more general zone that would also allow housing. So it's a more flexible zone in a sense. I'm moving west over to Santa Ynez to show the potential rezone there. This vacant site is at the corner of Highway 246 and Meadowvale Road. It currently allows commercial and recreational uses, but it could be rezoned to allow multifamily housing and open space. These 2 vacant properties in Mission Hills are along Burton Mesa and Rucker Roads. They currently allow for single-family residences, but they are shown on the map as potential rezones to allow for multifamily housing at a density that could accommodate something like, just for example, starter homes like townhouses, or potentially some mixture of for sale and for rent housing. This site on Constellation Road in Vandenberg Village is currently zoned to allow shopping centers. It could be rezoned to that C2 designation, which again is a more general zone that would still allow commercial uses, but could also allow some housing. And finally, on to the potential rezones in the Orchid area and surrounding the city of Santa Maria. Starting at the north, this vacant site is adjacent to city boundaries, and it's in between Highway 135 and South Santa Maria Way. It is currently zoned for single-family residences, but it could be upzoned to allow multifamily housing. This is a part of a cluster of sites next to each other that are potential rezone sites. They are located along Highway 135 and Union Valley Parkway, and I'll zoom in a bit better so you can see them. This is just an overview slide. They're fairly close to the airport, and let me zoom in here. The site on the western side, Key Site 26, it's cut in segments by Union Valley Parkway. It is currently entirely zoned for commercial uses right now. The map shows it potentially being rezoned to allow for commercial uses, plus some low-density residential and some medium-density residential. So it could be a more multi-use site. This is the sites on the eastern side of that cluster that I showed along Union Valley Parkway, just east of the airport. All of these sites are currently zoned for residential uses and could be upzoned to a minimum of 20 housing units per acre to allow for multifamily uses. To reiterate something I said earlier, though, it's probable that not all of these sites will actually be rezoned, or if they are, they may not be upzoned to the housing density proposed on the rezone map, but they are, they all met the criteria that has been established as part of the housing element update, and that's why they're shown as potential rezones. There are 2 more potential rezone sites in Orchid. This one, Key Site 16, is currently vacant and is along Clark Avenue, west of Broadway. It's currently zoned for a shopping center, but it could be rezoned to allow multifamily housing. And the last site in Orchid is Key Site 10. It's currently vacant and zoned for single-family residential, but it could be upzoned to allow multifamily housing. And just as an example, for most of these larger sites, they could potentially allow for some mix of housing types like senior housing, townhomes, or again, some mix of for sale and for unit or rent housing, just depending on the site characteristics and development potential and interest and economic needs and all that good stuff. So there will be many more opportunities to stay involved. We expect to release the draft housing element in February or March, so please stay tuned. And we will take it to the County Planning Commission for their consideration. We are hoping to hold more focused listening sessions later this winter and spring as well. And we are preparing an environmental impact report, and that draft will be released for public review next year as well too. In the very near term, right now, steps you can take now, or you can please go review the interactive map. There's the website again. Oh, no. Here's the website again. It's also on our County Housing Element Update webpage. So go home, just Google Santa Barbara County Housing Element Update. Please submit your comments here. And when you get home, if you have more comments, please send them to our housing element at countyofsb.org email address, and that way they will go to our whole team. And please also sign up for all future updates on this project as we go, as we release the draft housing element, release the draft EIR, go to the Planning Commission, go to the board, have more engagement opportunities. We want to keep you notified. So please go to this website here and sign yourself up for future project notifications. If you can't read that from where you're sitting, we also have a sign-in sheet at the table over there where you can scan the QR code and sign yourself up, or write in your email address and we can sign you up. That ends our presentation, and now Esmeralda will lead us in a facilitated discussion.
Great. So to start, we have Anna Maria Gott on over Zoom, and followed by Jack Warnash, who will follow Anna Marie.
Good evening. I have just some suggestions and questions regarding policies. The first is, does the county actually charge I don't know, I don't think the word is charge, I'm blanking right now on it, but do we collect impact fees for development? And if we do, is it only for multifamily, or does that also include single family homes? The next question is that I know that the county does permit short-term vacation rentals. And I'm just wondering why we would continue to permit short-term vacation rentals when we have a housing crisis. We have, too many people that need actually affordable housing, and some of our housing is being turned into basically hotels, on the weekend for tourists. So if someone could, answer the question about impact fees, I would really appreciate that.
Yes, we do charge development impact mitigation fees for all types of housing, single family, multifamily, accessory dwelling units, mobile homes, every type of residential use we charge.
And how much is that? And when was it last reviewed?
Our development impact fees get updated every year. Those fees depend greatly depending on the type of residential development and the location of the housing where it will go within the county.
Okay, thank you.
I think I just heard a question about whether or not they're restricted by the state. And to my knowledge, we do have to have nexus studies that dictate, that justify the cost of the fees in the particular area. And there are also some state laws regarding development impact fees for ADUs, accessory dwelling units.
So next we have,
and I'm sorry, and you asked about short-term rentals. That is something that the county has considered in the past, and we're continuing to consider in the future. We do have a short-term rentals ordinance. We do also allow things that are called homestays, where the owner has to be present on site and live within the dwelling unit, and then from there they can rent out their home. It's a way that we thought would mitigate the loss of housing units to short-term rentals if the owner was required to live on site.
thank you, Jesse. We have Jack and then Pam Gates.
Hi, Jack Fornash with Blue Sky Center. Just following up on Farrell's question, it was my understanding that it was ultimately up to the landowner to permit any rezone, meaning to consent to any rezone. It wasn't clear when she asked that question earlier and she had to drop off, so just following up. The question is, are you saying that the Board of Supervisors can overrule a landowner's objection to a rezone?
Yes, that is correct. The Board of Supervisors could potentially overrule a property owner's request to not rezone a property. But then in the case of the particular property that was brought up earlier, we do believe that that parcel was highlighted in the map on yellow, which means that we just considered rezoning the property, but ultimately we have decided not to go forward with that at this time.
So let me just follow up. The one she's talking about, it was shown in green. You zoomed in on it. But also our property, the 38-acre property, is shown in green, and our board's letter of consent clarified that this was, preliminary and based on the specifications. So, yes, can you just follow up about that?
If the property that the speaker mentioned earlier was highlighted in green and it was not intended to be, then that is a staff error, and we will move forward to correct it. As far as the Blue Sky property, I believe that's the one you're referring to, we were going based on the information, the preliminary information that we had, and if your position has changed, we would be happy to talk that over with you and reconsider.
Okay, thanks. It's just the clarification that you're saying that in the end, it's still the political process. The board supervisors can do something that the landowner doesn't consent to.
That is correct. Yes, they do have that authority.
And then this is Alan Bell, one of the planners also, just to clarify, with the Blue Sky property, we showed the entire property being rezoned as DR20, which would allow multifamily dwellings on that property. However, we actually have a dual zoning that would take place on that property. A portion of the property that's along the highway would be rezoned for C2 or commercial uses, which would allow commercial or a mix of commercial and residential. And then the southern part of the property that is beyond that portion of the property that adjoins the highway would be the residential component. The other thing to remember is that the maps and the sites that we're presenting are draft. So nothing's solidified or final at this point in time. So as we pointed out, we'll continue to do outreach. We'll continue to look at new sites that are recommended or sites raise concerns. We'll look at those concerns and reassess as we go through the process. So nothing's finalized at this point in time, just to be clear.
Thank you. So we'll take a couple comments over Zoom and then we'll come to the in-person meeting here. So we have Pam Gates, followed by Francis Romero. And just a reminder too for folks who are participating over Zoom, make sure to select your language because otherwise we will not be able to hear you. So Pam, you may want to check your screen. At the bottom of the screen, there's a globe and you'll need to select for your language. So maybe we'll come back to Pam if we're having technical issues here, and we'll go to Francis Romero.
Well, good evening, everyone. Francis Romero. I'm a senior planner with TW Land Planning. I'm not representing any clients here tonight. I'm just listening in because the things that occur tonight will ultimately impact clients and future clients. I hope that there will be a very thorough disclosure of what could be created for some of these landowners by making their current structures legal non-conforming uses. And I think that's really an important disclosure that should occur as part of this process. And I think the other thing that is interesting, the reason that you have a shortage on low and very low, the delivery of low and very low income units is quite frankly because of the cost to deliver those units. When the process costs the same amount of money, when the development impact fees are the same as market rate, it's very difficult unless you receive subsidies or through the federal or state funding to build something and not go in the red. And going in the red is never the goal of someone who's building housing. So hopefully some consideration can be given to the expense side and certainly the timing side when dealing with low and very low income housing delivery. And that's all I've got.
Thank you. Next, we're going to Kaylee Ellis and then Michael Stolte.
Hi, thank you. Just want to recognize how much of an important process this is and a huge undertaking that you guys are under. I was just wondering if you could speak a little bit about what happens next. So if these potential proposed sites get rezoned, like what are the next steps? Like who's going to come in and develop these sites? Is it landowners? Is it like how does that work? What does that look like? I'm just having a hard time visualizing that part.
So the once sites are rezoned, then it would be similar to how development would occur on any site right now. Under existing zoning, it would be up to the landowners if they want to develop it themselves or if they want to work with a developer or if they want to sell the land to a developer. So it would be similar to processes now, or the same as processes now.
The one change that is probably most important to some landowners is the fact that when a rezone takes place under our housing element, the county will take all the steps necessary to rezone that property. So we'll do the necessary reporting, we'll do the necessary environmental review, we'll take it to decision makers and ultimately make the change ourselves. So that's a bit different from a developer who has a piece of property and wants to develop it at a higher density, for example. Say they have a property that's zoned for single family dwellings. but they want to develop it for multifamily. In those cases, they have to actually submit an application to the county. They have to pay the fees that the county would collect for processing that, including the county planner's time on an hourly basis for processing that application and taking it to the planning commission, taking it to the board of supervisors, conducting environmental review. So one of the benefits of having a rezone under the housing element is that it relieves that burden from the property owner or the developer.
And to tag on for that reason that Ellen just explained, there are a few sites, more so in South County, but they are included as potential rezones because one of the local nonprofit affordable housing developers is working with the landowner, has purchased the land and would like to develop affordable housing. And so we're including the rezone as part of the affordable housing project and with the housing element update to try to streamline and push forward that affordable housing.
So Pam had technical issues, but I do want to read her question. She typed it into the chat. Where can we find the definitions of housing zones?
The definitions that we have been talking about specifically tonight are in the county's land use and development code. If you live in the inland areas of the county, if you live in the coastal areas, they are in the county's coastal land use plan. So those provide all the coastal zoning ordinance. They provide all the types of zones and descriptions of each zone and what types of uses are allowed in each zone.
Great, thank you. We have two speakers over Zoom, Michael Stolte and Lisa Carlos.
Hi, thank you so much for giving me the platform to speak. One of the questions I had specifically for the area Site 26, the Quayside property, will the Quayside plans also be updated?
So yes, any community plans that apply to rezone sites will have to be updated as well. So as part of the rezone process, we'll be not only updating the county zoning ordinances, we'll be updating community plans if they need to be updated. And so you'll have to update everything all at once.
Okay. And then one of the things that I noticed, so Quayside 26 as well as the properties around it currently reside in the Orchid Community Plan's no-build zone, which specifically in that area does not allow for any residential build as well as any other types of builds. Is that part of this current action is to review that code?
Yes, so we've been talking quite a bit with the Santa Barbara County Association of Governments because from our review of maps and historical documents and maps, it seems like the no-build zone there in the Orchid Community Plan was because of the safety zones from the airport and flight paths. And so we've been working closely with Santa Barbara County Association of Governments to get all the updated information on the Santa Maria Airport, the current flight path safety zones, all the regulations and restrictions that do apply and will apply on properties surrounding the airport. So as part of SBCAG's updated compatibility plans for the Santa Maria Airport, some of the land use restrictions that were applied in the past, including that no-build corridor, will actually become less restrictive just because of how flight paths have changed and how safety zones have changed around the airport. So yes, we have been considering that open or no-build corridor in the context of the airport and working closely with SBCAG on that.
Okay. And then last question for Site 26, it looked like in the recommended rezones, it's DR 4.6 as well as DR 30. Is that going to be layered on top of the C2, or is that a request for different zones on top of that particular property? Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. So what happens in this particular site, portions of the site would have different zoning. So we haven't actually shown that on the interactive map, but for example, north of Union Valley Parkway would be more of the commercial with some residential, and then south of it would be more residential. So we do have breakdowns of how those zoning would differ among one ownership. Because this is the former Walmart site that we're talking about, if you're not familiar with it. And it's bisected by Union Valley Parkway. So again, we provided the general information on the interactive map. We have more specifics about the portions of the property, and we're happy to provide that information.
And then lastly, the Orchid Community Plan has restrictions on any build, residential or commercial, requiring that subsidized water be acquired from outside areas. Is that still going to be the case, or is that also part of this review?
I'm not quite sure I followed the first part of your question. I didn't maybe hear it. Could you repeat it again?
Yeah, so the Orchid Community Plan specifies that all builds, whether they be residential or commercial, have to obtain water from outside of the basin. And so wells cannot be drilled and water cannot be acquired from Golden State. So water, substitute water has to be purchased from outside areas, supplemental water, excuse me. And I just wanted to understand if that is being reviewed or addressed in this program.
Yes, as we talked about with a couple of other instances regarding water and services, we will look at water availability as part of our work for the housing element, because we do have to talk about constraints, and then the environmental impact report as well will look at those issues on a more in some detail as well. So those will all be given consideration.
Okay, thank you. That was my next question.
We have a few more folks who would like to ask questions or make comments over Zoom, but as we do that, I also want to maybe share some of the things that are coming in over the chat for people participating in person. So one comment or question was, will you disclose to landowners the consequence of legal non-conforming status that could occur as a result of a rezone? And we've been responding to some of these over the chat too. Yes, we have discussed legal non-conforming regulations and their effect on the expansion of existing uses and property owners who may have their properties rezoned. So we have Lisa Carlos next.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
And Lisa, I can see your microphone moving, so you may need to select for your language so we can hear you.
Okay, language. Where is it? Okay, English. Can you hear me? Oops, sorry, English. I had a question about county-owned land. Is there county-owned land in North County? If so, could we have it marked on the map here as well as in our South County map? And then has that county land been considered for upzoning? Seems to me it should be considered if you have a shortage of places to put low-income housing. Obviously, if the county provides housing, there's a cost savings there. So just a question and a request to have county-owned land marked on your map.
Thank you. So we have been assessing all available county properties. We did obtain a list of properties from General Services, County's General Services Department that are lands that are vacant and could be disposed of. So we assess those, but also we've been looking at county facilities, more so in South Coast, particularly in the context of the Coyote Master Plan, which is a large plan that the county's just now initiated and has done some exploratory work to consider how best to reuse county sites in the like Turnpike and Hollister areas. So we have been trying to use examine county land where available and incorporate it in.
Can we have it marked on the map where you have county land?
Yeah, we can create a layer that would specifically identify county-owned land.
Yeah, that would be really helpful because, it's taxpayer land. It's land that the public should have full transparency about how it's being used and why it wasn't considered, especially if we have a low-income RHNA shortage, a RHNA shortage of low-income housing.
Okay. It might be helpful also to note, I don't recall of any proposed rezones of county land in the North County, but we do have some in the South County that we're taking into consideration. So those will show up. Part of them are associated with the Kyrie Owl campus, but also a little bit lower on Hollister Street where we have some of the juvenile facilities, for example. That's one site we've identified for rezoning for high-density residential development. So we do have some of those in the inventory that will show up.
Great, thank you.
Great. I'm going to turn to our group here in person. Are there any questions or comments here?
Hi, my name is Wendy Kaiser, and I have a couple questions. I was wondering about land that's over by the railroad station. I'm not sure, because there's no railroad track showing on the map. I was looking at the interactive map, and I know it runs along one, but it would be nice to see if there was any land over there that could be considered for maybe a housing, so that if people wanted to live in that area and commute to, other areas, they would be along the train line. I know there's a station at Grover Beach, but there's one, and I'm not sure what county it's in, that's right over there by Guadalupe. But I think it's Santa Barbara County, isn't it? But there wasn't anything over in that area, so I would encourage you to take a look at that, because it might not have fallen within your purview because of your parameters you set when you started looking for properties. Yeah, so it might be ag, but there may be an opportunity there that a developer would be interested in doing that if the groundwork was already laid. The other thing is, I noticed that there's some developments that aren't completely built now, like I think it's called, it's by Rice Ranch on the hillside, and then the townhouses. Are those part of our RHNA count, or were they counted already so we don't get to count them again?
So thank you for, and I'll answer both questions. And with respect to the first one, we did examine generally, take a broad look over like Guadalupe area to see if there were vacant sites that met the parameters that we set. But as you saw, there weren't any potential rezones listed, but we can definitely take a closer look to see, dial in a bit more and see if there would be sites in that area. I know, there's a lot of ag land in Vandenberg and, coastal zone. So a lot of potential, issues to consider. We can definitely take another look over there. And then, as far as undeveloped or yet to be developed portions of larger subdivisions, then if the units have not been constructed yet, then we can definitely count them when they are constructed.
I guess the building plans have been approved, but they're building them right now. So, and then Key Site 3 is another one that comes to mind because there's that high density part there that was approved a long time ago in the middle of a ranchette area that's kind of come up and down on the agenda for development. So I didn't know if any of that, because that wasn't on your map, I didn't know if that's been considered for what kind of numbers would be contributed with RHNA. And then the other thing is, have you reached out to big ag growers in the area that need to have potentially, it might be low-income housing for a workforce, where part of their land could be designated with an agreement, have a discussion with them, and they may be really happy to have a breakaway parcel, sub-parcel rezone where they could place their housing and have the benefit of the county doing the legwork for them, because that seems like a good perk to encourage development there. So that's my idea.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, with respect to ag land potentially being rezoned to allow for farm worker housing, we are a couple of the potential reasons in the Carpinteria Valley down south. We're looking at that because we're looking at a couple of sites that where there's interest between the landowner and a local nonprofit. But it's a bit tricky when we rezone. It's kind of hard to specifically say we are only going to rezone for farm worker housing. It's trickier, but it's definitely something that, you know, if there are interested landowners, we are definitely willing to talk and happy to talk.
I think one thing to add is we have a program for farm worker housing where we don't need to rezone the property. So we have provisions that were recently adopted, I think within the last few years, that allow for a fair number of units. And the higher the units, the higher the permit level, but it's already built into the ag zoning.
And then just to take Key Site 3 into consideration, we are aware of what's been permitted on that property. That a portion of that property recently went to county decision makers and the project was approved on a portion of it. There's another portion that is a higher density. It's kind of surrounded by the rest of the property, and there's a pending application for that. So we've taken those into consideration as pending projects, and we're counting those units toward meeting our housing needs and state mandated numbers.
There were a few more hands in the audience or in our attendance here. So let's go with yes, and then followed by this. So you and then. Sorry, I can't see your name tag from this far away. Okay, Joy.
My name is Joy Hoover. I live in Mission Hills. I just have a concern that with these mandates coming down from the state, I mean, I'm not a planner and I know that a lot of work goes into planning. Are you taking into consideration the existing community, the needs of the community, the elements of good planning that I'm sure you all learned in college? Are they just thrown aside now because of the mandates from the state?
It's a tough road to walk because yes, we do have state mandates that we do have to meet, or there are consequences. So we are really trying to walk that line, and that's part of why we wanted to bring the rezone maps to the public as soon as they were ready. Literally last week, we finished tweaking them, but once again, they are still very draft, and so we want to work with everyone to figure out how to best accommodate what we do need to accommodate.
Could I ask another question? Could you tell me how many potential units we're looking at for Mission Hills? Because we do have RISA and Zena pending, which is 49 units. So I'd just like to know what we're looking at.
So as a starting point, we're aware of Christina and Encina, and we've included that in our list of pending projects. So the number of units, I think it's around 49 or so. Yeah, so we've been, they've lowered it down, yes. So that's what we've counted. We basically looked at what the applicant is proposing on that site and has submitted an application for, and that's what we counted for that particular site. So that's definitely in our inventory and shows up on the map as well.
What about the two Fong sites? How many units are looking at there?
Yeah, and we can also, Eva, if she's still available, probably has the inventory at her fingertips, can tell you exactly, because we do have a Fong 1 and a Fong 2.
Hi, yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, Eva.
Okay, great. So for Fong 1 and Fong 2, we have For the first, we have 70 units total being proposed, and for the second, we have 45 units total being proposed.
Can we bring the PowerPoint up too so that we can see the map?
Yeah, there you are. So Fong 1 there, which is on the left, is at 70, and Fong 2 is at 45. We had some environmental constraints that limited our build-out potential on the second parcel, Fong 2.
We're looking at, it looks like I have to do some quick math in front of everybody. Sure. I'm trying to add up 70 plus 45 plus 49. Okay. So we're at about 165. That looks like 164. That's a lot of units for that little corner, where my son gets the bus in the morning. Are you guys going to take into consideration that that's a lot to jam into an existing community?
Yeah, so the shortfall of existing units that we have in North County that we need to meet is around 500 units of lower income affordable housing, but when we add up all of the potential units from all of the sites shown on the map as currently proposed, we do have an excess. So not all of the sites will end up, we don't need all of the sites in North County that are shown, and we don't need them all to be at the housing density shown. So definitely, trade-offs, trade-offs will be factored in, and part of what the EIR, the Environmental Impact Report, will be assessing is, growth impacts. If all those units are built, then what are all the consequences and traffic impacts and water and noise and all of that. So the EIR will be considering what would be the worst case scenario, where if everything was built exactly as the map showed, but that's to get like the, biggest, best picture of all the potential impacts. But we know for sure that not all of the sites will end up being rezoned. Yeah, exactly as they're shown. So we wanted to give options.
Fire's a big danger in our area because we're wildland urban interface, and so I have to take that into account.
Yeah, the wildland urban interface will be assessed in the environmental impact report too. So we'll definitely have more information on that.
Thank you.
We have a few more speakers or comments or questions here in the room.
Hi, I'm Susan. A process question. You have a large site in Orchid that's currently finishing up an EIR with the city of Santa Maria, trying to annex it into the city. How does that play out with your numbers and what you're trying to do? Does that make sense?
So the question was, what happens if the city of Santa Maria, for example, is trying to annex county land into their jurisdiction? And as we mentioned earlier, every city and all the counties in California have RHNA requirements, the regional housing needs allocations. And so when there is an annexation of land from the unincorporated county into the city, there's also an associated transfer of RHNA that occurs with that. And there are negotiations that occur between the county and whatever annexing city we're dealing with. But generally, if the county is proposing a certain number of units on a site that is included within the housing element, and the city of Santa Maria, for example, wants to annex it, they would take on that RHNA as part of their annexation of the land. And it would have to be approved by our Local Agency Formation Commission, LAFCO. It's a big acronym for me.
And just so we know, we're talking about the former Walmart site here. And we were aware, we've spoken with the developers, we understand the process they're going through, and part of it relates to an issue that we talked about earlier is the availability of water. if they get annexed into the city will provide water for both residential and commercial uses. But the city will not, at this point, provide water for the commercial component unless it's annexed. So the developer is kind of in a bit of a bind and trying to determine what's going to be the best route. So we've spoken to them, and we've actually looked at, what their requirements would be if they were to remain within the county, and factored that into some of the numbers that you'll see on the interactive map.
My name is Jay Higgins. I have a question. There was a question or comment about the cost to deliver housing, and it can be very expensive to build parking, especially at higher densities. So is there any consideration to relax parking standards in any part of the county as part of this process? Less parking, one per unit or anything like that?
It's certainly something. I mean, one of the purposes of these meetings are to gain, ideas for that we should be considering, and parking certainly does raise the cost of development. So that's something we can certainly give some consideration to. Many of the projects we've been seeing that come through that are of a larger scale are going through state density bonus law, which allows concessions and incentives. And some developers are relying on less parking as one of the concessions that they look at. So that is available now. But we can certainly put that on the list of things to consider further for other projects that perhaps meet certain criteria, providing a certain level of affordability, for example, outside of state density bonus law. So we can keep that as one of our comments and give it consideration.
In addition to that, the county has a separate project that has been authorized by our board, in which we've begun this year, and that is a suite of amendments to certain zone districts, like the planned development residential zone district, the design residential zone district, our commercial zoning regulations, with the intent of relaxing certain standards like the parking requirements, if we can see that a project is going to produce higher levels of, say, affordable units at income categories that we need. So we'll look at things like that, and also just increasing where residential development may occur, and looking at where does it make sense to tweak our standards such that we can see the units produced. Does that require things like reducing parking standards, reducing landscaping standards, and other features that we've heard back from developers are limiting in the zones when it comes to achieving the densities we want to see?
Sure. It's not for everywhere, but there's a lot of cities in the Central Coast that have already remove parking out of their apartment projects, and with the idea being the cost of providing parking is preventing the apartments from being built. So if there's this corresponding increase in inclusionary or affordable, that sort of defeats the purpose of bringing costs down. Different question. This is a little bit more convoluted, but I think what I heard you say is that some of the projects that are on your list now are contemplated for either split zone or mixed use. Is that correct? Can you walk me through what you said earlier about what sounded like a minimum density, in which, because on a mixed use project, you it would be hard to get to maybe 20 units per acre, if that's what you stated. And so is that one size fits all for all of these rezones? And certainly some areas of the county wouldn't be, in particular, maybe Mission Hills, that's not necessarily a compatible minimum standard for a single family zone district. So can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I can tackle this one. So the State Department of Housing and Community Development and State Housing Law require that if we are going to rezone a site for the purposes of meeting our RHNA for our housing element, we do have to institute a minimum density of at least 20 units per acre. And then looking at the RHNA that we had for North County and South County as well, but in the North County, and looking at our shortfall of lower income units, we did have to bump up the residential density on the sites that we identified to something a bit higher in some cases. For example, a minimum of 30 units per acre with, say, a maximum of 40 units per acre. And even though that's something that is not very conducive to single-family residential development, it is something that would be conducive to multifamily and therefore potentially affordable units, which is what the state wants to see. So that's where we're getting the minimum density requirement from.
So all of the properties that will be rezoned will have a minimum 20 per acre, or will they have a split zone or a mixed use zone? Or are we still working through all this?
No.
So all of the properties that we are rezoning as part of the housing element will have a minimum density and a maximum density. It'll be something new. We've never had a minimum density requirement before, at least as far as I'm aware. But to answer the other question, there actually are some cases where we are proposing a split zoning on certain sites, just depending on, for example, maybe topography or existing ag uses, what the owner is trying to do in terms of mixed use commercial and residential. So there are some cases where we're proposing split zoning too, in addition to having a minimum density on the residential portion.
Okay, just to make it just so I'm clear, is there any flexibility on 20 in the minimum, or is that a state mandate?
The 20 units per acre at least is a state requirement for minimum density. We can't go lower than a minimum of 20 units per acre.
Thank you.
And then also, Jay, just to clarify, you mentioned something about mixed use. So the county has a mixed use zone, and it's called mixed use. And that's only been applied so far in South Coast along Hollister Avenue. There's about a 3/4 mile corridor there. But our C2 zone does allow a mix of commercial and residential use. So in the context of what we've been doing here, we have looked at C2 zones as an opportunity for allowing residential uses in conjunction with commercial use. But we have not proposed rezoning any properties to date to mixed use. And part of the reason is that the mixed use zone was applied along a road corridor. So it took in an area where we had public transit, where there's opportunities for more walkability, pedestrian access, bike lanes, and those types of amenities. And so we don't use that zone for a specific property. Therefore, we haven't used it for our rezones to date.
I think Tony has been waiting to ask a question or make a comment.
So if an area is marked in yellow on your map, can it be reconsidered to be green? And if so, what would we have to do in order to have you review it again?
Yeah, we can definitely reconsider it. And what you need to do is just email or call us. Or submit, through public comment. Give us a comment card.
Okay, there's a couple more speakers here, and just to do a time check, we're almost at our hour, but it's been very informative, so we want to encourage everyone to make their comments. So go ahead, sir.
I just have a comment about the last gentleman's comment about parking and reducing restrictions for parking. I strongly urge you to consider parking. We don't want to turn into a San Francisco where you have the streets lined with cars. It brings crime, it brings hazard, it brings a lot of things that communities don't like. If we can't afford to build parking as part of our housing, even single family housing, the new communities going in, the garages are not being used, there's people parking on streets. It just invites a lot of criminal activity that I don't think our community wants to turn into. So, for your consideration.
So we have another speaker here in our room here.
I want to go ahead and second the changes to parking. I live in Rice Ranch, and I understand that the idea is to make the streets a little narrower, get a few more houses in for the developer to sell. But at the same time, there's not the streets aren't wide enough for the parking that's happening on them. If you go through there at any night, you'll find that there are cars from residents lining the streets completely, and there's some crazy things that have happened in front of my house. Well, and it's not even in front of my house. There's literally one parking spot on the street for 7 homes. So things like that shouldn't be happening. And I realize that's the planning commission and not necessarily this group of people, but thank you.
I want to speak about the nuisance of around the airport, of the traffic of the jet flights going, the noise pollution of the really loud jets flying. The flight pattern is over Orcutt, comes up over Orcutt, over Clark, and then goes to the airport, landing in the airport. I think they're pilots being trained from Edwards Air Force Base, is what I heard. Is that going to be an issue with high density over there at Union Park? Will that be brought up? Because it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. And they're much louder than just commercial traffic, aircraft traffic. They're much louder. And I just moved here a month ago from San Ynez, and it was so quiet down there, so it kind of rattles me. It's so loud. But it's not a housing thing. It's just how is it going to affect all the people that are going to be, housed in that area where those jets are flying over. That's all. If anybody knows.
Yeah, thank you. So as part of our coordination with the Santa Barbara County Association of Governments, they've been updating all of the airport land use compatibility plans I mentioned earlier. They've updated all of the safety zones and noise zones around each airport. And so they have all that updated information. They just updated it last February. So we're using the latest and greatest data on all of the noise contours from all the existing flight paths. And so we have factored that in. And in some cases, the parcels have either height restrictions and then also just density restrictions, like there cannot be more than so many people or so many housing units because of where they are located near or under the flight paths. Right. We use the information given to us from SDCAG. Yeah.
There were a couple more speakers here.
Hi, I'm Jerry from San Ynez, and I want to give a third shout out for the parking thing. I think when you tweak standards, you degrade quality of life. But kind of in general observation, it seems like a long time ago we had general plans that were formulated at the local level. And let's say if a developer wanted to do something, I could go to the local thing and participate in that, whatever. And now we've got the state in the background forcing these standards on us, and they're forcing you guys to be the frontline implementation of those things. And I want to commend you guys for doing a conscientious and thoughtful process, but I resent state interference in local things. And increasing the density, doing this thing, which I'm against, but anyway, why don't they've also forced ADUs on people, and single family homes aren't really single family homes anymore, as far as I'm concerned. So does the ADU thing factor into this need for more housing?
Yeah, thank you. So we did factor in future ADUs that will be developed in the next 8 years based on the ADU development pattern of the past few years. Like we used all of our data to project out realistically how many more ADUs there might be. And we assigned, depending on where those ADUs are located, kind of depends, factors into how affordable they may or may not be. So we did factor in future ADU development to help us get toward our RHNA.
And one thing I just wanted to add about the parking, and I was going to respond to the speaker who asked the question, is generally
when jurisdictions consider parking reductions, they're looking in areas that are like along transit corridors where it's viable for people to use alternative transportation. So, I mean, those things would be factored in when a decision maker considers parking reductions.
And my observation in Santa Barbara City is that people in neighborhoods complain when there's no parking for the new developments that are high density.
That is a true statement.
So we have a question or comment on over Zoom. So Morel Brooks. Thank you for your patience.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. Yes, my name is Merle Brooks. I'm president of the Citizens Planning Association. And I just want to bring up one item. We have great concern about the idea of a programmatic EIR. And, I have some questions. CPA has always supported, adequate community input opportunities. And if we go with this programmatic EIR for the housing element update, that's going to include, many parcels. And, maybe I'll frame this as a question. Is the state mandating a programmatic EIR? Or is that something that the county has come up with, as they put the housing element update together? And again, I'm coming from the point that we want throughout the county as much community input on all these decisions as possible. And, what will the impact of the programmatic EIR, which will incorporate so many of these parcels throughout the county, what will that have on individual projects as they come forward? And then my other question on these is going to be as they come on housing updates. Thank you.
Recording in progress of PEIR. And we are including all of our sites, all of our rezone sites within the EIR, but we are taking a level of environmental review that is going to be sufficient to analyze these sites such that when they are subject to by right ministerial review, when that February 15, 2023 deadline rolls around, we are doing that such that the environmental review, such that the mitigation measures that we come up with that come out of EIR will be sufficient when those sites move forward, if they do move forward, to eventually develop. I cannot speak with complete certainty about other cities, but I believe they are also doing EIRs. If there's rezones involved, they should be.
Are there any other questions from the group here on site? Very informative discussion, I think. I would say great dialogue and great new information too from members of the community. So with that, this concludes our meeting for this evening. We really want to thank the group for taking the time to join us and providing very thoughtful comments. There is, for those of you on Zoom, you have the links to the places online where you can get more information, where you can provide comments. And for those of you here on site, there's the QR code at the sign-in table. And then I know some of you took a snapshot of the screen as we were sharing that with the folks. So with that, I want to thank everyone. Thank you to the team. Great presentations, and have a wonderful evening.